Dear Life is the name of David Gray's 13th album. It's been about probably 3 or 4 years since we last heard from him. Good morning to you, Al. I'm very interested in your thoughts. We're massive David Gray fans. What were your thoughts on this one? I thought overall very well crafted. I mean, this has got the David Gray DNA.
Oh, couldn't agree more. I've got a few things to say. First of all, congratulations, David Gray. I mean, with 13 albums deep here since 1993, so it's always going to be hard to kind of satisfy all the fans in terms of the high-ranking album of White Ladder in 1998. So everything's kind of compared against that. And I must admit, when I first had a bit of a listen, a couple of tracks in, I was kind of waiting for it to kind of really kick in. I wasn't a massive fan of the singles that had previously been released, Plus and Minus featuring Talia Ray. It's a good song. Maybe he's trying to find some new fans here, but it wasn't until track 3 that I really, really got into, which is Eyes Made Rain, and kicking into track 4, Leave Taking, which I think is going to be absolutely sensational live. And my other favourite track is The Day Must Surely Come. Now, before we head over to your thoughts, mate, I think there's kind of two David Gray camps. There's the kind of poppy kind of stuff, which he's been doing for a while, and maybe trying to explore, which I'm just not a fan of. I'm going to come out and say it. I really like his more ballad, slower acoustic songs where his voice just kind of works really well with. I think some of the pop stuff, it's just not for me because that's not me as a David Gray fan, or it's just not as good. Where are you, mate, on this kind of line?
I've got a slightly different viewpoint to this. So there's probably 3 categories, really. So there's the ballads.
Yep.
There's the pop stuff where he's really trying to make a pop song, and the Plus and Minus song sort of felt like that. I don't know if you agree.
I really struggled with it. I don't see where it fits on the album. Like, I think there's some really, really good songs, and I don't know.
I think for me, with David Gray, he's gone through various periods. It actually reminded me to go back, through some of the back catalogue last night. Listening to White Ladder, I just love that album. But Life in Slow Motion was a cracking album as well.
Yeah, did you ever listen to Mutineers? That was 2014.
Oh yeah,
that is a great album.
Yeah, Mutiny is a cracking song, isn't it? It is a cracking song. I saw that live when he played last when he came round to Melbourne. That's a cracking song. Good album too. And but Draw the Line's one of my favourite albums too.
Yeah,
so he's got a wide variety of stuff. But the stuff that I like with David Gray is when he's out in a concert and he's getting his head wobbling. There's a shimmy. Yeah. There's a shimmy to his stuff. Yeah, and I think they're the types of tracks that I get excited about, and I'm just not hearing enough of those on this particular album. So the example's Mutineers, right? That just gets me sort of up about. It's not necessarily a poppy song, but there's just something about it. And the same with Draw the Line. I mean, and there's also A New Day at Midnight. It's that's really underrated. I think that was always going to be tough after White Ladder, but I think that's where, for me, there's just, it seems to be a little bit too middle of the road. I think that a lot of people are going to rate it 8 or 9 out of 10 because that's just what people do with these types of artists. But I'm actually just not hearing anything new. I don't think you'll go back to this album. You'll go back to other albums, and I think that's just a little bit problematic for me.
Oh, I think you summed that up really well. And in terms of middle of the road stuff, I think it's a conversation about staying in your lane. I really wish this album maybe had replaced the pop stuff with maybe some more quicker, maybe rock songs, harking back to Sell, 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 that kind of stuff. That would have been good for me, but maybe that's just me as a fan, and a listener rather than being a critic. But back in terms, the epic songs that he plays live from albums such as Alibi, Night Blindness, I'm really only seeing maybe the song Leave Taking fitting that mold, where coming at 6-7 minutes could be transformed into maybe a 10 or 12 minute epic live song. I just don't know if there's many others that'll make his live circuit here. What do you What do you think?
Look, and even like plus and minus, like so he said that he was kicking around the riff back in 2004. So it's sometimes songs take that long to get to the point where they're ready. But I almost feel as if the version of the song back in 2004 would have been a lot more up and about. It feels just a little bit too processed and too much that feels like there's he's trying to angle for this hit single, which I just don't feel it's there.
Absolutely,
like it wasn't there.
absolutely, and it's a little bit disappointing, I think, because I just don't think it fits on the album. There might be people in the comments that kind of disagree with us here, but can we quickly talk about his voice? I mean, his voice has held up both live and in the studio for many years. But again, the songs I mentioned at the start of this video, Eyes Made Rain, his voice is just like silk over the music and the lyrics. Same with The Day Must Surely Come. It just works, whereas I'm finding that the poppy stuff, it's just trying a bit too hard, maybe. I don't know.
It's actually interesting. I don't... Because there was stuff that... I mean, his voice is suited to having a very, very long career. He's just got that gravelly voice that, so if he's 20 years older, you can see that the voice will almost get better over time. But there was some stuff, if I correct me if I'm wrong, where it felt like they were putting, I guess, compression or auto-tune.
Auto-tune.
Did you notice that? I can't remember the song, but again, is that really needed from a David Gray tune? So I'm just not sure. I mean, look, in summary, I feel as if there were parts that he was trying to apply these techno beats over the top, so almost going back in some ways to White Ladder, but there just wasn't the...
But it was done far better. It was done far better in White Ladder.
It was.
What
would you rate it at? What would you rate it out of 5?
Oh, yeah. Look, I was going to give it 4, but I'm going to give it 3 3/4. For me, you are comparing it to his previous work, and it's just not quite there. There's some standout songs, but 3 3/4 for me.
I'm going to give it 3. Look, look, it's okay. It's okay, but it's just not at the standard of what we'd expect from a David Gray album. And to be honest, to be fair, he's 13 albums in, so not many artists can sustain so many records to be really, really top notch, and he has got a lot in his catalogue. So I would be going back to other records in his catalogue before going back to this one. So let us know what you thought about this album. Do you agree with our sentiment, or do you think it's actually a contender for something like an album of the year? I'm sure that there's going to be so-called critics out there that are putting it out in high regard. So let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think.